Hi, I'm Mike Gilliam, and this is A Slice of New York. We kick off a new season with a power couple in the world of photography, Alexis Rodriguez Duarte and Tico Torres. Their work is stunning. We begin with a look at their illustrious careers in their home in the Village. Let's get to it.
I love that suit. You know, he has to wear that suit. Remember, he has to wear it to the Grammys
Oh,
the next
to the
day.
Grammys. And he was a hit.
Alexis and Tico are a Cuban-born, world-renowned photography team. They escaped Cuba to Puerto Rico as children with their families on the Freedom Flights before eventually coming to the U.S. Their work can be seen from magazines to museums and exhibitions, including the Smithsonian Portrait Gallery in Washington. Their subjects range from Celia Cruz and Andy Garcia to Gloria and Emilio Estefan, Gloria Vanderbilt, and many more. Thanks for bringing us into your home. Tell us a little bit about your apartment.
Well, we've been here for 32 years in this apartment. And of course, you just keep accumulating more and more things, but everything in here has a story.
So I'm struck by just how many things there are in the apartment. It's like a look at your entire life here, Alexis. The cameras. Tell me about that. When did you first pick up the camera and how?
Well, when I was 10 years old, my grandfather gave me my first camera.
Uh-huh.
This one right here. Someone had given it to him as a present. He came home when I was living in Puerto Rico as a little boy, 10 years old, and he said, Alexis, do you want this camera? And I was like, yeah, of course, abuelo. Of course I want that camera. And from then on, this was what opened my world.
In the apartment, one of the artists that is very prominently featured is Celia Cruz. In fact, a whole corner is dedicated to the singer.
It's a little shine to Celia Cruz. We have her shoes, that she was known for her shoes.
Uh-huh.
You know, we have one of her pictures that we did of her doing a photo shoot, and she turns to her husband, Pedro, and says, Pedro, mira que linda me veo. Look how pretty I look. And that's when I did that clink, the click.
More on Cruz and how they met in a bit. Alexis and Tico's creative process has served them well over the decades they've worked together. They say it's a collaborative effort, from the beginning of a shoot to the end.
He is the one that clicks. He is the photographer. And I'm there just to make sure that everything is just right when he clicks.
Yeah, I click. I'm the one that does the click.
And then after the shoot, we edit together and decide what is the final product, what is the final image that's going to be seen.
You know, you could have 20 images and there's nothing there, but there's maybe one that there's eye-to-eye contact with a person.
Alexis and Tico have a ton of fascinating stories from shoots with people from all walks of life who are at the top of their game. Many led to real surprises and long-term friendships. Let's talk news for a second. Washington Post, Ben Bradley and Sally Quinn. Tell me about your interaction with them.
I was sent by Town and Country magazine to photograph him in his house in Georgetown. And I got there and he was not giving me anything. You know, we were shooting and it was Sally and him together as a couple and individually. And he was such a pain in the butt. He was not. And then Sally turns around to me and said, don't worry about it. He did the same thing to Annie. Last week she was here, Annie Leibovitz, had been photo. And then she goes, and Dick.
Richard Avedon.
The week before.
So here we are.
Really? Really? And here I am? And you're going to eat me alive? No, you're not. For some strange, wonderful reason, connection, I see there's this beautiful tree in the background outside in the garden. And I said to him, oh, wow, that's a really beautiful tree. And he lit up because it turns out that he had planted that tree there with John F. Kennedy.
And that led to beers and talk of Cuba with the legendary Ben Bradley. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk more to Alexis and Tico about their careers, their marriage, and their relationship to Celia Cruz in studio. This is a slice of New York. Welcome back. I'm Mike Gilliam, and this is a slice of New York. One of Alexis and Tico's most important friendships over the years was with salsa star Celia Cruz, a friendship that lasted for years. Let's go to the beginning. How did you first meet?
Well, it was in London, of all places.
We were living there.
We were living
in
there.
London.
And one day we're coming out of the underground. We have gone to an interview at Vogue magazine because, I'm a fashion photographer. So I went to show my book, my portfolio. So I get there, the appointment was not very nice. It didn't go very well. And I was we were a little depressed, sad, And suddenly we see, as we're coming up the escalator from the tube, we see a poster that says, Celia Cruz at the Palais. And we were like, Celia? What's Celia doing here? We were so naive at that point, And we want to meet her.
We found out that she used to stay at the Hiltons. Okay. So we called every Hilton in London. and
Every Hilton.
Every Hilton. And then Alexis asked for Celia Cruz. And the gentleman at the reception said, just one moment, which is very strange because Celia never checked in under Celia Cruz. She always used Celia Knight.
Oh, okay.
Her husband, Pedro Knight's last name. So next thing you know, go ahead.
So I said Celia Cruz, and suddenly the phone rings in a room. This gentleman answers the phone in Spanish, and he says, hello. And I said, mira, somos dos muchachos cubano-americanos. We're two Cuban-American guys living in London, and we wanted to meet Celia. Queremos conocer a Celia. Sí, espérese un momentico. Hold on. Sí, dígame. And that was Celia on the phone.
Whoa.
And then it was like she wanted to know everything about us. Oh my God, it was an amazing thing. And then somebody like, oh my God, we're talking to Celia herself. So he tells us, tomorrow I'm having a press conference. Why don't you guys come over? And after we'll hang out in the room, and we're like, oh yeah,
my God!
So we did it.
So that we get there, and the British press was there interviewing her. And when they left, the four of us, Pedro, Celia, and us two, in the elevator go up to their suite, and we're sitting there talking, and it was just amazing because the thing about Celia is that we grew up with her voice. Her voice was the background of our youth, if you like. Our parents played Celia all the time.
Hey mama, hey mama, hey mama, hey mama.
The thing about Celia, she was such a human person. I mean, it's not like she was up there and, the audience was not. No, she was
very humble.
Very humble. She wanted to know everything about you. I mean, at that moment, she wanted to know, it wasn't about her, it was about us. What are you guys doing here? Blah, blah, blah. So that's how the relationship started. And then she says, are you going tomorrow to see me perform? And we were like, well, Celia.
Yeah, I said, in Spanish we say, estamos con una mano adelante y una mano atrás, which means I have one hand in the front and one hand in the back, and I don't have anything in between because I'm broke.
I'm broke.
So, and at that moment, we were eating bread and mayonnaise alone for weeks at a time.
Yeah.
So we said, I don't know if it's in the budget, and she said, let me see what I can do.
Yeah. And the next day, she called.
Sunday morning.
Herself, not an assistant, herself. And she says, listen, I got, one of you guys go to the box office, and there will be 2 tickets for you. I'm like, okay.
That's great. So did Pedro Knight, her husband and manager, he kind of played a role in all of this?
Pedro, if you can't mention Celia without mentioning Pedro, because they were like two of a kind. They were always together. So Pedro was always around, and thank goodness, because he was such a gentleman. He was just a wonderful, wonderful human being. Both of them together, it was just magic.
So what was your favorite photograph of her?
Well,
there's a few, but there's one,
a few.
Of course.
I think that the main one that really sort of the closest to our heart and our whole emotional thing is Yo soy Guantanamera, yo soy de Cuba la voz, which is the picture that it's representing Celia Cruz right now at the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery. And it's amazing to be able to say that we had this vision of creating this image that we really didn't think it was going to become an iconic image because it has come. The National Portrait Gallery has said that this is the iconic picture of Celia Cruz. And I have to say, yes, it is, because when she was in that beautiful field of palms and she sang Guantanamera a cappella, it's like,
That was pure magic too.
And she did that during the photo shoot?
and she did that.
She's doing
yes,
that in
that's
that
what she's
photo,
doing.
the one that's on the cover of our book, presenting Celia Cruz, and the photo that's at the National Portrait Gallery. And you see she's got her arms widespread, and it was at Fairchild Tropical Garden in Miami, which is a beautiful garden, and we found it because there's Cuban palms, Cuban royal palms in the background, and we wanted to recreate a Cuban landscape. But we couldn't take Celia to Cuba. She wouldn't have been allowed. Right. And so we recreated this, and we put her in a huarachera dress, which is a dress that she started wearing in the 50s and 60s, and then she stopped, and she wasn't wearing those anymore. She brought it down from New Jersey, and that's the dress I said, okay, that's the one you're gonna wear. And you're right, we didn't know that it was gonna become, you know, so iconic, and it fills us with pride that she'll be represented at the National Portrait Gallery with that image forever.
Did she ask you guys to photograph her, or did you have to make the ask?
A little of both. There were times that she asked,
She asked, yeah.
to join her at a concert, for example, and she performed at Radio City, and it was a tribute concert to Aretha Franklin, and so Omer Pardillo, her manager, calls and said, "Listen, Celia asked me for you to come and hang out. She doesn't have tickets for you in the audience, but you can hang out with us backstage. Is that okay?" And we're like, "What? Radio City with Aretha Franklin and Celia Cruz? Yeah, no, that's okay."
And that queens.
The two queens. And you can't imagine when we were backstage and Alexis was snapping with his little Leica, and here we have Aretha Franklin and Celia right next to each other, and we were like, "Oh my goodness, wow."
All of these images that you guys are taking, right? You're taking a lot of images of Celia. Now, those images have combined to kind of be a part of the new quarter with her face on it, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
That's really
Well,
cool.
we found out officially from the Celia Cruz Foundation that our images of Celia from the series Cuba to Cuba, Yo Soy de Cuba La Voz, were sent to the Mint U.S. Department, and from there, the artist took inspiration from those images into the quarter. And now it's to the point where you could actually see if there's a strand of hair that's going like this, you'll see it in the quarter. You'll see it in the photograph, you'll see it in the quarter. You see the earring going like this, you see it in the quarter, and you see it in the picture.
Yeah.
That must feel very good.
It's really
oh my God, it's
amazing.
amazing, it's amazing, it's amazing. It's
Well, it
beautiful.
fills us with pride because, we're Cuban, we're born in Havana, and Celia was the queen for us, for Cuban Americans. And to have her photo at the National Portrait Gallery and to now, know that our photos were the inspiration for a quarter. She's the first Afro-Latina to appear on a U.S. quarter or on any U.S. currency. So there you go, it fills us with pride. And we had a relationship for 15 years, and it was a professional relationship, but it was also a friendship. And that is very important.
Wow, wonderful stories. We're going to take a quick break and have more on their most memorable photo shoots with Alexis Rodriguez Duarte and Tico Torres. This is A Slice of New York. This is A Slice of New York. I'm Mike Gilliam. Alexis and Tico have been together for years. Now, how did you meet?
Well, it's a coincidence that we're talking about this because we just celebrated our 40th anniversary last week.
Oh, wow.
And I'd like to say we met when we
Thank
were
you. 4,
but please go along with me.
Let's not do the math.
We actually met in Miami at a bar.
At a bar, at a club, we met. Actually, it's kind of like
But at that time, it was called a disco. You're dating yourself.
Yes, indeed. Disco, what's that?
Yeah, exactly.
No, well, I had gone to the discotheque that evening, and then there was these two guys, was Tico and our best friend still to this day, his best friend, were dancing, and then I was like, so I started dating Albert, one of the guys.
Right, because Albert sees him behind me dancing. We're on the dance floor, and he said, "Oh, there's a really cute guy behind you, and he's dressed really cute." And I said, "Okay, wait a minute." So I turn around, and I see him, and I said, I come back to Albert and I was like, yeah, he is dressed really cute, and he is very cute. And so they ended up picking each other up. And that's actually how we met. I became the third wheel because they dated for a while, and then
we started hanging out together more as friends, and suddenly, we started dating.
You were one of the first gay couples to get married in New York City, right?
Yes.
Tell me about that experience and how that all worked out.
Oh my God! Well, we saw that the city was having this lottery, and we're like, oh, let's go for it. I mean, we're New Yorkers. We've been here, all of our lives. So we fill out the application online, and then the next thing you know, I think it was on Thursday, we got a call in the evening from City Hall, a real person, saying that we won the lottery and that we could get married on the first day that it
On
becomes
Sunday.
on Sunday that becomes legal. And
So we only had 3 days to get ready. But it was one of those magical New York days. It was just one of those beautiful days where after we got married, people were hugging us and screaming from across the street, congratulations, and it was just a wonderful day.
So then we're like, okay, so what are we going to wear? And then suddenly it's because, again, we're trying to always our roots. We decided to wear guayaberas. And guayaberas is a type of shirt for the tropics. And in Cuba, they used to use it for formal events, even the weddings. And we saw one of the pictures of one of Tico's uncle, right? Was it your uncle? Wearing this beautiful guayabera. And we're like, that's
and
it,
you
and
would
a bow
make
tie.
it formal with wearing a bow tie. So that's what we went with our white long sleeve guayaberas. And
French cuff.
Yeah, and a little black bow tie. So we really stuck out like a sore thumb. We were interviewed by a lot of people, I don't know, and they were following us around, and there were cameras following. This is a great little New York anecdote. Cameras were following around. We get into the courtroom, and our the judge that married us was Marcy Friedman, and she says, my name's Marcy Friedman, I'm an out lesbian, and I'm gonna marry you today. And we said, we're in the right courtroom.
Fast forward, though, the current political environment, does it give you concerns when you think about gay marriage?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Right now, it's very, very scary times because the laws are changing, and a lot of the laws that were to protect LGBTQ community and other communities are being brought down, and that's very dangerous. We're going backwards. We're not going forward.
There's so many laws that have been passed across the country that are anti-LGBTQ+, and that is really dangerous. We knew once the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade that their next target would be the LGBTQ+ community. So we always had that in mind, and that's really it's horrible. We are going backwards. I agree with you. We're going
especially
backwards.
the marriage part, because the Supreme Court could turn around that. And
Yes, if they did it
that's
to Roe v. Wade, they could do it to same-sex marriage.
Yeah. It's a troubling time for sure.
It is.
Back to photography.
Okay.
Okay. What was your favorite shoot out of all of them?
Well, I have a couple, but
Okay.
one that really, Celia, of course. I have to say, Celia. But I was sent on assignment to photograph the new 747 airplane. And it turns out that when I was a little boy, my father took me, when I first arrived to this country, actually, we flew from Cuba, Miami, Puerto Rico, because my grandparents were there, and he took me to see the first 747 that landed there. And I've been fascinated with plane. So fast forward, I'm getting this call to photograph the new 747B, was it, or something like that?
Yes.
747B. And it was amazing to be able to go into the plant and photograph these big planes from the assembly line, and it was fascinating.
We found out that it's the largest building in the world. It's bigger than the Pentagon and the Vatican, and then of course you think, well, these are 747s, and there's one after another in an assembly line, so it's got to be a big building.
Yeah, right. Okay. You also shot Gloria Vanderbilt.
Oh my
Gloria,
gosh.
Gloria, oh, Gloria. All right. So, Town and Country Magazine sent us to do an assignment to photograph the Vanderbilt family.
The Breakers. It was the 100th anniversary of the Breakers in Rhode Island.
And of course, we were like, Gloria is the one we want to photograph because it's Gloria. And so we got to the 3-day festivities, and Gloria did not want to be photographed. And the editor keep on asking, hey, no. So the last day, I decided I was going to set up a studio outside the house, and we would pull out different guests and we would photograph them. And then suddenly I see Gloria Vanderbilt walking down on the garden, and I said, this is Tico, I'm going to go for it.
So he went for the jugular.
And then suddenly there she is, and I said, oh, Miss Vanderbilt, I would love to take your portrait. And she says to me, what's your setting? Like very slow motion.
Very Norma Desmond.
And I'm like, all right. Oh, that I want to whisper your name. You're walking through this beautiful garden. I'll whisper your name, and I'll take the picture. Oh, please take me to your set. So then when she comes to our set, of course, we have beautiful, movie lights all over the place. And she would go from one column to the other, and she could not see me. I said, oh, Miss Vanderbilt, over here. And she's like, where are you, Alexis? You're such a mysterious photographer. And I got the picture that I wanted. We wanted.
So then fast forward, the magazine publishes the photo, and we receive a call at our home, and I answer, and she says, this is Gloria Vanderbilt, may I speak to Alexis? And I thought it was a joke. Thank goodness I didn't say anything bad or anything. And I give the phone to Alexis, and she tells me.
So then she tells me, last night I went to the Met Gala with Richard Avedon. And he mentioned to me that he had seen the copy of the magazine already, and that has been one of the most beautiful pictures he's ever seen of her.
Wow.
And I just wanted you to know that.
What?
Isn't that amazing?
And then she's
That
calling me to tell me this. And I was, of course, as a photographer, Richard Avedon is like one of the gods. And so, yeah.
And
yeah.
she has been really one of the only sitters that we have photographed that took the time to write a really beautiful note, which will be in our archives, saying, a great photographer captures the soul of his sitter, and you've done so with my portrait.
Gloria Vanderbilt.
And then she signed it, just like on the jeans.
I don't remember those jeans.
No, it was a little before our time.
It was before our time.
I've seen
Our
photos.
our parents talked to us about that.
Okay, yes. Let's go through some very quickly now. Okay, Andy Garcia.
It's an amazing story. Andy Garcia kind of rediscovered Cachao. Cachao was a legend in Cuban music in the 50s and then had to go into exile, and like many Cuban musicians. And so his career was doing little private parties in Miami, and it just so happens that Andy Garcia goes to one of these and sees Cachao and said, oh my God, that's the legendary Cachao. So he got Cachao and he produced this album. Actually, he did three, Master Sessions 1 and 2, and it won Cachao a Grammy at the age of 80.
Wow, that's
And
great.
our picture's on the cover.
And our photos on it.
And then we ended up photographing him later on, Andy Garcia. We had a whole session with him when he in one of the studios here, Silver Cup Studios.
Okay.
because
What
we have-
about Versace?
Versace. All right. So Versace Vanity Fair calls. We have an assignment for you, and it's to photograph Gianni Versace because he has a new book coming out. And we're like, perfect. But you have to set up all of your cameras, and you have 10 minutes. He'll come down, you shoot him, and he's gone. Oh my God! I mean, that's pretty. It's a little.
You're not even warmed up in 10 minutes. I mean, really.
I haven't figured out how to say your name, sir. But so then he comes down, and he's like, "Oh, I was just on the phone with Bruce Weber, another fellow photographer, and I mentioned that I was being photographed by you guys, and he says, you better be good to him, to them." And here I am. So those 10 minutes that we were supposed to have with Gianni Versace, it turned out to be a whole afternoon. We went all over the Casarina in Miami Beach, in South Beach. We went all over his house. He showed us his private quarters. And again, it was one of those situations where it was supposed to be this way, kind of like very strict, and then suddenly it opened up. And that's what happens to a lot of people when they're being photographed in a portrait, that they have a wall around them, and then suddenly they just let them go, and that's when you get their soul.
Rita
That's-
Moreno.
Rita Moreno.
Oh, Rita Moreno.
Rita. And we photograph her
For people.
3 times.
We photographed her. Oh my gosh,
3
yes.
times.
Yes.
One was in San Francisco, which actually is a beautiful portrait of her. That again, we went to her house, and suddenly outside I see this beautiful agave plant, and I'm like, perfect. Rita, come over here. So I brought Rita to say, Miss Moreno, I should say, Miss Moreno. At that time, we were Miss Moreno, by the way. Because I always like my sitters, when I start, I like to call them, you know, Mr., Mrs., whatever, doctor. And then, you know, then I call them by their first name. So she comes over and she had this beautiful dress. I can't remember, who was the designer?
It's a Latin designer. His name is Angel Sanchez. Angel Sanchez.
Yes, Angel Sanchez. And it's this beautiful dress and with these beautiful, and she's just flowing as the plant is flowing. So.
She was amazing to work with. And again, you know, I hate to say the word old school because it has old in it, but she is old school, and she came to the shoot all by herself. She came in slippers and makeup and hair, and I dressed her, and we love those photos.
Yeah.
They're some of our favorites. She had great energy, and so did Chita Rivera.
I mean, imagine, you know, this is a woman who's been on stage, and I'm asking her to do certain move, and then I'm like realizing, oh my God, this is Rita Moreno that has done West Side Story. This is Chita Rivera who's done all these other things, and she's dancing in front of me. That's us.
Yeah, you know, what was really cool about being able to photograph certain people is that you get to go into these worlds that you otherwise wouldn't be able to. And with Chita Rivera, I got to dance with her. So we had some Cuban music on, and she started dancing, and she goes, come on, come on. And I walk over, and I dance with Chita Rivera.
Talk about pressure. Talk about pressure, man. Okay, that's going to have to be the last word. I want to thank Alexis Rodriguez Duarte and Tico Torres for sharing their photography and their life stories with us. And thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Gilliam. We'll see you next time on A Slice of New York.